Hello guys, I'm Fizzy and welcome back to another league race in the AOR PC Split 1 League on F1 2016. Another race with me in the car. It's been a while since the last one, as per usual, since I'm slow as shit. But we are here now in Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix, of course, and jumping straight into the end of the qualifying session. 20 seconds to go in the session, as you can see. I've already put a lap on the board previously of 1:20.4, but I wasn't completely happy with that, so I went out to get another lap on the board, and just about having enough time to complete this run as well. So, as you can see, P13 is where our current lap time has us on the grid, but of course we want to improve on that. And interestingly, you can see we're on the super soft tires, which is the fastest tire for this track, and it's actually back to a normal type qualifying again, despite the tire wear glitch, because the weather forecast for the race is that it's going to be wet for the start, which means that you can just go ham in qualifying and not worry at all about what tires you're going to start the race on, because you're going to start on the wet tires either way. So everyone went out on the super softs, and surprisingly, to get a good time on the board as possible, which just means that the qualifying is even harder than possible to get home up on the grid. But you can see now into the final sector, we are a little bit up on our previous time, but not by much, just over a tenth of a second, losing a little bit through the corner there. We're gaining a lot on the exit of the penultimate corner now, taking a wide entry through the final corner, trying to get out on the throttle off the apex a little bit, then on the DRS, and across the line to go P8. So it was 0.3 of a second improvement, but a 5 position improvement, so absolutely crucial that we got our final lap on the board. Unfortunately for us though, Ryan just crossed the line moments later and demoted me down to P9, because he did a lap that was very, very close to mine, only 0.03 of a second faster, and as you can see, Ryan was also 1,000 of a second of Marek in P7, and it's very, very close on times round where I qualified as well. So a competitive grid, and now into the race where it's intermediate tire weather for the start. And you can also see on the weather forecast there that it does say that it's going to get wetter later on in the race, which is interesting. So then it's going to be the first race all season where we have wet weather in the race. It's been a long time coming, to be honest, and finally it's here. I'm not really sure I would like it though, because I don't feel like I'm the most comfortable in the rain, and for this week I hadn't done any wet weather practice at all, because, you know, been used to not having to do that. But suddenly it arrived, and everyone will have to jump into it and just make the best of the situation. So that is what we will try to do, as the lights are now going out for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and let's see how we can navigate this first corner for the first time with a lot of spray in our face. Ryan and Marek going side by side ahead of us, and a cluster of cars now braking for the first corner. Oh, and Marek's gone a little bit twitchy, and I've lost my front wing already. Great. Yellow front left end plate, and really struggling to control the car as well, dropping all the way down to last position, P17, before we even exited the first corner, so that's not quite gone too well at the start. Next corner though, there's been another incident then, non-runner having a problem and sitting on the outside, so I've been promoted up to P16 then. And now, Jesus Christ, you can see how much the cars are bunching up here, and Afro lagging a little bit as well in that Force India. He's now dropped behind us for a bow, and then he's just sort of lagged back next to us, but I think we got the position. Oh my word, and Marco spins, Raven spins, and Massachusetts spins in a lovely triangle of synchronization there. Beautifully done by them, but I mean, it's not exactly how they would have wanted that to happen. Nuka was sitting on the side of the track there. Maybe he was involved with that and is waiting for them. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but there has definitely been a couple of quite major incidents here on the first lap, which means we're up to P11 after being last after turn 1. And going back to turn 1, I'm not really sure what happened. Marek, the car ahead of me now as well, he was the man I tapped the back of, obviously. I think he got very close to Lol ahead, and then suddenly slowed down a lot, as, oh, I need to slow down a lot to not hit into chicane here. Was just rejoining the track from a little off-track excursion, and now he's having a look on the inside of Marek, who's leaving him plenty of room, does not want to get involved in an incident clearly, which is probably fair enough, as Nick B is at the fastest lap up front and looking very, very good here. Marek actually goes into the pit lane, and chicane just goes well wide again on that corner. So after the poor start of turn 1 at the end of the first lap, we're actually in P9, so a lot of guys having trouble here. Quite unusual to have this much going on the first lap in this league. And then on lap 2, another problem. That is Lol in the other Williams, who has clearly had a incident with Kellon, who is not too far ahead now, and chicane has slipped through. I had to go really wide out of turn 2, losing a lot of speed, and chicane has taken advantage of that. I was lucky, little ghosted of course, because I drove kind of straight through him. And you know, I turned out to wide line because I wasn't sure if he was going to ghost, even though it usually happens, but you never know with this game. As we've now skipped on to lap 3, and Non-Runner also recovering from his first lap problem. He's now the car right behind, and of course Non-Runner, we're sort of fighting him in the driver championship. He is in P2, I'm in P3 in the championship, but on flat out pace, Non-Runner has been quite a bit better than me this season. He's you know, the second only to Renault Tigger, I would say, shown himself as the second fastest driver in the league in terms of pace, and he's now trying to take the inside line. Well, he has taken the inside line into turn 1. Maybe we will try to cut in a lead. No, we're going to try to hold it on the outside instead, because he was literally parking the car on the apex there, so we never been able to cut under even if I tried to do it. So that's us down to P10 again then. Oh, unless Non-Runner running really wide at turn 2, and that's just gifted me the position back. And of course, I'm still driving with that front wing damage. I've chosen to stay out here just because the damage is relatively minor, but clearly it does not help in corners like this, where the car wants to understeer and also lose grip, and in these conditions as well. It's going to make it much harder than it really needs to be, and you can see, because of that poor exit, Non-Runner again has taken into the line into turn 1. And again, I'm trying to hang it on the outside, struggling to get it slowed down a little bit, and struggling even more to get on the throttle. Slight overstay moment, and again, we just couldn't quite hold it on the outside. And again, oh, he's run wide again at the same corner, this time not as much though, so he's still going to be side by side, and around the kink, I've managed to hold it on the outside to actually get the position back again up to P9. No, that's not Afro, that's Nuka behind there. Nuka's getting involved in Non-Runner now, which is probably for the best to have him keep him busy for a bit, unless Nuka then passes him, which he has done, and then is going straight on the attack on me on lap 6, as I've really struggled with the line through the chicane. That's giving me a really poor exit. Nuka up the inside through the start of sector 3 here, or the end of sector 2 even, as it actually is, as I'm getting very close to the back of him, but tricky for me to fight back there, especially with his wing damage and the fact that I'm struggling in this condition in general. And now again we have Non-Runner right behind us, and he's looking to go inside on this corner now, so I'm going to leave him the room on the inside, but still try to hang on here with carrying as much speed as I really could. And we have managed to stay ahead of Non-Runner 4, now trying desperately to cling on to this top 10 position with the problems that we have. It's quite a busy train for me actually. Look at the minimap, bottom left, there is several cars just chilling out behind me at this moment in time. So it's not looking too good. I'd rather be attacking people than holding up a train, but there's not too much I can do when I'm struggling for pace and trying to just keep my car on track more than anything. This time though, Runner wasn't close enough to get his car up the inside, which is good. Bit of a break from taking a wide line there. And we've actually managed to keep up reasonably well with Nuka on the next lap. But now though, on the braking for the chicane, we braked very late, locked up as well, just in it's a little bit of panic to not hit the back of Nuka now. And that is gifted a Non-Runner position. Unfortunately, that's a shame. I thought I was doing a decent job at holding a Non-Runner behind, but that little mistake has gifted him position. Now Massachusetts is the next car behind, and it's turning into a little bit of a frustrating race. Of course, nice to have battles, but I'd rather be making passes than defending for my life. And the defending isn't going well when I'm understeering like a madman around the front corner, easily gifting Massachusetts that position. Nothing really I could do when I can't turn, which you know is a quite vital thing when you're racing at a car like this. You want to be able to turn. But yeah, that's down to P12 then. So out of the points at the moment, and we haven't been out of the points since Monaco when we crashed into the wall. So it would be a bit of a downer if we aren't able to score any points at all here today. Obviously, given how this race started, I'm not expecting a lot of points anyway, but at least I want to be in the points somewhere. That is always, you know, sort of a sub-target if I can't do any better. At the end of lap 9 though, a few cars in the pits, so we have gone up to P8, and now we've skipped quite a bit forward. Lap 17, you can see now the tyre wear is starting to get on a bit. And I was in a situation now where I'm not really sure what to do in terms of strategy. Obviously the question is, as Nuka's retired from the session actually, which is a shame for him, But yeah, the question for me in terms of strategy, as there are now 2 more cars in the pits, Massachusetts and Kellon as well. So it seems that most people are pitting now. But, you know, keeping the weather conditions from the start of the race in mind, where it said based on the graphic that it was probably going to be wetter at some point in the race, as even more drivers have now pitted, as we are actually been attacked by Nicky in his second race back in the league, but he's on fresher tires, so he should have no problem out tractioning me here. We're trying to keep side by side actually, but with this tire wear there's not much point fighting a guy with less problems, as it's gone really wide, but yeah. Basically what I was thinking at the moment in terms of tires was that I was thinking of maybe trying to extend my stint until it was time for heavy rain, but my engineer's given some really vague messages. He said the heavy rain wasn't going anywhere anytime soon, but it's still, you know, it's still intermediate weather at the moment, and the longer I stay out, the more the guys on the fresh intermediates will be gaining on me, obviously. And given that the conditions have stayed the same for a long time now, which, you know, it seems like intermediate weather, I decided to go into the pits at the end of lap 19. But what tires do we go on? Well, at the moment, it does seem like it's intermediate conditions, and that is the tire that everyone else have gone onto in the pit stop. So, that is what I've decided to do as well. Go in for the inters just because the tire wear was getting on. And the weather doesn't really seem to be changing a great deal. And of course, a slow pit stop for me as well because of the front wing change, which is going to help. And we're going to rejoin the track well down the field. Marek going past on the outside of the pit wall. So I'm going to be down in 12th position, which isn't too good. And then yeah, so on the out lap, after just having changed onto the intermediates, the engineer comes on the radio saying, well, it's time to change the tires. Well, is it, mate? So now it's suddenly time for heavy, wet tires. Great, so literally, if I had gambled for 1 lap longer to wait, to hold my pit stop, then I could have gone straight onto the wet tires, and it would have been absolutely super sick. I would have gained several positions, probably, well, certainly, definitely, based on compared to where I am now. So 2 laps after making the stop, I've gone into the pits again to change now onto the wet tires as advised by the race engineer. So it's a little bit annoying, to be honest. At the time, obviously, I went into the first pits for the first time. It felt like a smarter day because the weather didn't seem to be changing, but literally so annoying to have that message only on the next lap. Oh, as lol has been in the advertisement board there. And checking out the scenery a little bit, so that has actually promoted us up into the top 10 again on lap 27. But you can see there's quite a bit of gap ahead of us, several seconds up to Marek. However, with just over a lap to go, I managed to close that gap down. So it's now, with 1 lap to go, a battle for P9 with me against Marek. And to be honest, I was quite surprised that I was able to close the gap to Marek. Obviously, I took my time. It was 7, you know, quite intense laps of gradually closing the gap. And just trying to keep focused in these conditions, not making any mistakes. And finally, we managed to get up to the back of him, although he's gotten a much better exit out of the final corner. But yeah, in terms of pace, Marek, you know, he's come into the league and he's shown himself as one of the absolute top guys in terms of flat-out pace, but hasn't always been able to convert that into top results. And for whatever reason, at this stage of the race here, he seems to be struggling more than me. Tyrant Siggers won the race, but you know, no surprise there. But at least it looks like we're going to be in the top 10, which you know, I always want to be as high as possible. But given the struggles already from lap 1 here, you know, to at least be in the top 10 is okay, because I haven't been outside the points at the finish, you know, at all this season, apart from at Monaco when I didn't finish the race. So now then, for the final final half of the lap, let's see if we can make a move on Marek. Just trying to keep as close as possible. This final sector, though, isn't a good, you know, overtaking place, really. So I'll just have to try and keep the pressure on and hope for a little opportunity. Hope for him to slip up somewhere. Now coming into the final sector, having to brake a little bit there, because if I kept on throttling, I would have just driven into the back of him. And we're getting close. Oh, there was maybe... I don't know. I don't know. Could I have dive bombed? Maybe I could have dive bombed, but that would have been aggressive and probably been an incident. Then again, there's no other cars around us, so maybe we could have afforded a bit of an incident. But yeah, it looks like Marek's just about doing enough here. I haven't managed to find a way through, controlling the oversteer there, and that is giving him the better exit. So we're going to finish behind, or are we? Because we're 9th. Because Marek had a penalty. Again, just like last time out in Silverstone, when I was promoted to the podium because of a Marek penalty. Now I've been promoted from P10 to P9 as a result of the same thing. So, again, not really the way I would have wanted to make the pass on him, but that's how it is. You can see as well, quite a few people struggling with the Konica penalties in this race. Not too big of a surprise given the conditions though. So in that sense, I'm quite happy that I managed to avoid any extra penalties. And here is then the Driver Championship. Non-runner getting some points on us from this race, even though he only finished 2 positions ahead of us. And quite a bit of movement going on in the lower half of the table. But for me, it was not the best day in the cockpits, really. As mentioned, hadn't done any practice for the wet conditions, so it was a bit of a shock when it finally came for the first time this season in the race. And with getting front wing damage already on the first lap of the race, it just you know, didn't really pan out too well from there. But we are still in a good position in the championship, and next time we have a racetrack which I really am a big fan of. Hockenheim is going to be the next track we go to, and I have had some great memories there in the past. But yeah, Hockenheim, generally a track that I do enjoy, and hopefully next time it'll be no different. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this race here in the wet around Hungary, even though it wasn't the best of results and performances from myself, but I shall come back stronger in Hockenheim, so I hope you'll be with me there as well. Until then, have a good time, and goodbye.